Have you ever heard a good comeback to an insult? A young girl in a restaurant was treating the waiters terribly, acting like a real __. An older woman told her, "Darling, you're not pretty enough to behave like that." During a heated argument, my mom called my brother a son of a __. He replied, "Absolutely correct." A girl once told me that if I stripped on the beach, everyone around would go blind because I was so pale. I told her, at least when I go to the beach, people don't feel like drowning me in the sea. Winston Churchill is credited with this comeback insult. Lady asked her, "Mr. Churchill, you're drunk." Churchill, "Yes, ma'am, and you're ugly, but I'll be sober by tomorrow." And this one. Lady asked her, "Winston, if you were my husband, I'd put poison in your tea." Churchill, "Nancy, if I were your husband, I'd drink it." This wasn't an insult, but I think it's just a great response, and I still remember it. I have 2 younger brothers. At a restaurant for our father's birthday, about half of our relatives showed up. I had just graduated from the same college as our father, my middle brother was in his 3rd year there, and my youngest brother was a freshman at a different college. At some point, our uncle said to my youngest brother, "Tell me, how did your father take it when you broke the family tradition of all the men in our family attending college X?" My youngest brother, after a moment, replied, "He took it quite calmly, considering at least I didn't break the tradition of all the men in our family being taller than 170 centimeters. Everyone at the table burst out laughing, and my middle brother and I exchanged looks across the table, amazed that we had such a bold person in our family. The most surprising thing is that my little brother was very shy in school, but he came back from college confident and witty. I always hoped this change in his character would happen eventually, but I didn't expect him to become so ruthless. That's my favorite story. In a high school math class, there was a sweet nerd named Richard, and one, whose name I can't even remember, kept calling him Dick, like, "Hey, Dick, solved the 4th problem yet?" The nerd calmly replied, "My name is Richard." Eventually, the teacher got fed up and asked, "Rich, what do you prefer to be called?" He answered, "I prefer Richard." The who was bullying him piped up, "Well, I prefer Dick." A few seconds later, the whole class was roaring with laughter, and the guy realized what he'd said and sank into his chair as much as he could. He never bothered Richard again. This was in the 80s, we were teenagers, and that situation seemed super witty to us. My friend didn't have any relationships with girls until his freshman year. One kind of dumb guy we sort of got along with said to him, "When you finally start dating a girl, I'll definitely ___ her." My friend replied, "If my girlfriend just sleeps with you, she'll catch a ton of problems, so the fact of cheating would be the least of her worries. First, everyone thinks you're a jerk. Second, I know what everyone thinks about you, nothing. Nobody cares about you." One kid told my friend, "I'm sure when you shower, you can't even see your own __." My friend replied, "No, of course not, your mom's head is in the way." I know it's from some movie, but it's still a brilliant response. Gordon Ramsay asked his daughter on air, "What's it like being the daughter of the most famous chef in the world?" His daughter replied, "I don't know, Jamie Oliver isn't my dad." Ouch, what a burn. Once, my aunt, who was much older than me, criticized me for having a protruding tooth that made my smile look odd. This happened when I was a teenager, and it was said very politely. I was raised not to criticize people for their flaws and to compliment them whenever possible, so I did just that. "Auntie, you have such a nice smile, like a crocodile's." "Thank you, dear, it's just because of one tooth that your smile is a bit crooked, but it's not that bad, it can still be fixed." "Maybe, but I know for sure I'll never have teeth as good as yours, they're like stars." "Like stars? You mean just as bright?" "No, they're only visible at night." Not long before that, my uncle had given me a book called 1001 Insults for All Occasions, and that was the first one I used from it. Your never gets mad at your mouth for stealing its job of spewing. When I was in middle school, many years ago, one bully was teasing a shy kid, saying he'd never get a girlfriend because he was a loser and no girl would ever sleep with him. Another bully jumped into the conversation and said, "Yeah, you haven't seen a ___ since they pulled you out of one at birth." The whole class, including the teacher, burst out laughing. The first bully shut up immediately. Edit, the teacher didn't laugh with everyone, and this didn't happen in the middle of class, it was during a break as students were entering the classroom. The teacher heard it, smiled, but held back his laughter. "If I'm not mistaken," he said, "that's enough, boys, time to start the lesson." No one applauded, the principal didn't come in to clap, and this happened 30 years ago. The first bully is now a police officer, the second drives a truck, and the shy kid works as an engineer. From the movie Casablanca. Ugarte, you despise me, don't you? Rick, if I ever thought about you, I probably would. I heard a story about a few girls riding in an elevator with a man, saying unpleasant things about him in a language they thought he didn't understand, maybe Hindi. They were saying to each other that he had an ugly face. The guy waited until the elevator reached his floor, looked at them, and in perfect Hindi said, "Better to live with an ugly face than an ugly soul," then walked out. Edit, I didn't expect this story to get so much attention, so I want to clarify a few things. First, I'm not sure it was Hindi, so please stop criticizing or apologizing for Indians, it might not have been them. Second, yes, this might just be a made-up story, but we were asked to share responses to insults, and nothing was said about their truthfulness. The school cafeteria cook humiliated me in front of the whole class. For lunch, they served some dish with tuna. I said, "What, tuna? I'd rather have a ___ sandwich." Without missing a beat, the 80-year-old lady snapped, "Wait a bit, I'll go to the bathroom, and you'll get your sandwich." Needless to say, I chose the tuna. A popular classmate decided to mock me and, in front of the whole class, jokingly invited me to go to prom with her. Without hesitating, I said, "Thanks, Lauren, but I don't want to go to prom with just anyone." The whole class burst out laughing, even the teacher. We were sitting in a bar at 3 a.m. on Bourbon Street, with the windows wide open. A guy who had just left the bar leaned through the window above our table to shout something to his friends who hadn't left yet. One of the friends with us said something unflattering about him. The guy leaned down, slammed his hand on the table, and said, "If anyone ever loved you, they definitely regretted it 100 times. Then he walked away without looking back. We're still laughing about that story. Show some respect, kid, I could have been your father. Yeah, but your mom didn't have change for a 20. I don't go to the docks to pull sailors, ___ out of your mouth, so why are you distracting me from work? Once, I was playing a card game with a friend, and he started playing unfairly from the beginning. I said that wasn't allowed. He refused to play by the rules, so I refused to play at all. He started singing, "Sunny Circle, Sky Around," implying I was acting like a child. He asked, "Do you know why I'm singing this?" I replied, "Yeah, because you just learned it in kindergarten today." In first grade, the bus was taking us home, and some called out to me. We had this exchange. "Hey, my name, why are you acting like a?" Me, "I'm just imitating you." The whole bus went, "Oh." A kid sitting behind me said, "Cool," and gave me a high five. I felt really cool. Later, in 7th grade, I realized I was gay, so checkmate. A street vendor was trying to push his CDs on everyone passing by. A heavyset man walked by and said, "No, thanks." The vendor replied, "If it was a donut, you'd eat it." The man shot back, "If it was $1, you'd already be begging me for it." When I was in college, I ran into a friend with his girlfriend on the street. I was holding a Green Lantern comic. He introduced me to his girlfriend, and the first thing she said, while shaking my hand, was, "I thought only teenagers read comics." I replied, "And I thought only teenagers had zero-sized breasts." Honestly, I was shocked that someone I just met would say something like that, and I responded instinctively, but it's still my best comeback to an insult. The teacher asked a tough question. Jimmy answered correctly. Karen said, "LOL, you're such a nerd." The teacher said, "Don't be rude to him, Karen. He might be your boss someday." Jimmy replied, "It's okay, I won't be her boss. I have no desire to become a pimp." The whole class laughed like crazy. Today, we had a lesson about our future careers. One student shouted, "I want to be a stripper." The teacher replied, "I'm not sure you have the talent for that." Edit, it was a boy. I'm just curious and want your opinion on how I reacted to an insult. Was it really that good? Many people told me they hadn't heard anything better, mostly because I was a quiet kid who was impossible to rile up. Naturally, that made everyone try to provoke or insult me in some way. Sometimes, they'd blame me for things I definitely didn't do, and the teachers knew it couldn't have been me. Anyway, one day, I walked into class, and the teacher wasn't there yet. A girl wrote a joke about our teacher on the board that would have definitely upset him. That joke had been repeated endlessly for 2 years, so I don't get why she wrote it again. It was something anyone in our school could have understood. I sat at my desk and wrote my own joke. The teacher came in, read what was on the board, and asked who did it. Right away, one girl and her friends sitting nearby said, "It was Siobhan." Note that we were 15 at the time, old enough for such behavior. I don't know what came over me, but without a word, I walked up to the board, corrected all the spelling and punctuation errors, and sat back down. Then I turned to the girl who accused me and said, "I actually know how to write." The whole class burst out laughing, including the girls who accused me, though they weren't ready for that turn of events. The teacher laughed so hard his face turned red, and there were tears in his eyes. Personally, I think they laughed only because it was me who did it, and there's nothing particularly special about the act itself. There was an annoying boy in our class who got a spray bottle somewhere and was spraying water on everyone, even though we all asked him to stop. One girl walked up to him and said, "Stop it." He replied, "I get it. This is the only way you'll ever get a girl wet." In 8th grade, a boy shouted at us in a crowded hallway, "Hurry up, get out of here, you stink." I replied, "That's because your mouth is too close to your nose." In 9th grade, a very large girl called me flat ass for no reason, and I said, "You're just mad because my hands can reach my butt and I can wipe it." Be sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss new, super interesting discussions. In the meantime, check out our other videos.